think it's a good time for Joe Cassidy, who's with Aerojet Rocketdyne, and one of our Explore Mars board members, to go over some of the concepts that are out there right now to show that this is indeed possible. This isn't science fiction. We certainly can actually achieve this goal, and perhaps it's not the technology that is what's hindering us. So, Joe?
Thanks, Chris. Okay, so this the way I thought we'd do this morning is I'll go through a little bit of an intro and then just throw it open to the room. So I really do want, in this one, sort of, you are the panel. There is no group just sitting up here. And I'll just try to give us some things to think about, and then I'd like to really hear from you all, because this is really supposed to be a little bit of a brainstorming activity that Chris set up. So I thought for starters, I'd go back and go over the concepts that people have looked at over the years. This is not a new idea of taking people to Mars. And throughout the years, people looked at various ways of doing that. So we'll start off with that. Then there's been recently, within I'd say the last 2 to 3 years, sort of a shift to the idea of looking at this more as a logistics-based architecture, and how I've got a little piece in here that's something I presented to the group that we talked about a little bit on the panel last night, the international group that's putting together the global exploration roadmap. They had a work session that I presented this to, and the idea was, let's look at the global trade and how it's evolved over the last 400 to 500 years, and lessons that could teach us about how we want to go to Mars. And then a little summary real quickly on our workshop that happened in Pasadena last October called 40 Mars. And obviously my comment there is budget travel is the new norm. We're not going to go the big full ticket. We're going to go as cheaply as we possibly can. And then we'll throw it over.
My battery's going.
So again, if we look back all the way to the 1950s, and really, I mean, go back if you wanted to burn and even further into science fiction, there have been many, many ideas put out there. Serious planning really started in the 1950s. People like von Braun and Stuhlinger, and I'll show you a little bit about that. And we have a couple of video clips interspersed in here, which are kind of fun. During the Apollo era, we were going to the moon, but we were thinking about Mars. We were really putting together, and some folks mentioned it last night, there was a whole plan based on the infrastructure of Apollo to go on to Mars. In fact, I was going to say last night, I was told we'd be on Mars by 1985, so I'm really mad too. I want to know why I'm already there already. And then the Space Exploration Initiative, which took place in the 1990s. And all of that sort of culminated in something called the NASA Design Reference Architecture 5.0, and we'll talk a little bit and just show you that. So that's kind of the summary of the plans that I'll show you today. So the von Braun plan is kind of interesting. And as I go through these, I think you'll see there's some common threads that run throughout. In the von Braun plan, we looked at, this is the Atlas that was used to launch the early Mercuries, the Atlas and the Eugenia, Atlas Centaur, it really evolved that vehicle even to today. But then you had the Saturn vehicles that were used to go to the moon all the way up to the Saturn V, and I just wanted to show this piece to you. This was the concept for what was called the Nova rocket. Okay, so this was going to be the Mars rocket. And you can see, if any of you know what a Saturn V looks like, you can see the scale relative to the Saturn V.